Hello, welcome to the Batteries Included podcast. It's August the 25th, 2023, and this is episode number -1. More on that in a moment. Thank you very much for joining us. On today's show, we'll be talking about driving the Lotus Eletre R, the debuts of the Lamborghini Lanzador and Pininfarina B95 Barchetta, premiere of the Rimac Nevera Time Attack and setting a new Nürburgring record, and of course, much, much more. I'm Domenick Yoni, host of the YouTube channel Drive Electric with Domenick. Today, we are joined by a special guest, Dave Connor, host of the YouTube channel Out of Spec Dave on YouTube, right? And of course, we also have Kyle Connor, who joins us from the majestic, practically palatial halls of Out of Spec Studios, where he produces high voltage videos for a number of YouTube channels. Good morning. Hey there, everybody. Good to see y'all.
Morning.
How's it going, Dave?
Good morning. Morning. Yeah, it's going great. It's a little rainy here in Stamford, Connecticut, but we'll take it.
Okay. And you're joining us, it looks, from the practically palatial halls of your Lucid Air, I would say.
Yeah, it's not practically palatial. This thing it's got this massive glass window. It is palatial, so by definition.
Right on. So it's been a busy week for you, Dave. I just want to start with you since you're our special guest. And just looking at you, I don't know if people can see like a familial resemblance, but both of our co-hosts today have the last name of Connor. And yes, they are related somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, I've met Kyle once or twice before. So,
oh, yeah?
For those of you who don't know, I'm Kyle's dad. So there you go. And yeah, Domenick, listen, I've had a very busy week. It started off last weekend driving from Florida, 2-day road trip in my wife's Model Y long range. And, so that was pretty wild. And then I ended up, we can talk about that if you'd like.
Yeah.
And then on Tuesday, I was it Tuesday? I guess it was. I was in Brooklyn for to do the reveal of the Ford F-150 Lightning Platinum Black Edition, which was pretty wild. And,
right.
And yeah, so a lot going on.
I think you also managed to squeeze in the New York Electrify Expo with it and riding in the Ford Mustang Mach-E 1400 performance demonstrator as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. That was I was there for 2 days. It was out of Nassau Coliseum. Really good event, as a matter of fact, because I had never been before, and I just realized they started it in 2021. But it's not just the ability to see vehicles, but you can also drive them as well. And you're right, they had this crazy, Mach-E 1400 driven by Colette Davis, and I was able to get, hey, look at that. Wow. Hey, Tom.
Yeah, it just popped into the studio. If you were not watching this on YouTube, we were just joined by the, I don't know, magnificent Tom Log, who is like standing somewhere in front of the Mediterranean, I'm guessing.
Hey, guys, I'm in Corfu, Greece. Sorry to bomb your podcast. These guys didn't know I was going to make a quick appearance. I didn't know either. I'm here at a bar, and I got the notification that you guys are live. I'm drinking some Aperol Spritz, and I said, you know what, let me just jump in, say hello to everyone. I see Out of Spec Dave has joined us this week, so he can take my spot, and I'm sure he'll do a great job with it. But I just wanted to say hi to everyone, and tell you guys I'll be back next week for our regular show.
All right.
Hello, and enjoy Greece. That looks freaking awesome. Nice yacht, by the way. Are you on a yacht? What are you on?
No, I'm in a bar. I'm at this bar right behind us, having some drinks and enjoying my vacation. Feeling pretty good right about now. And, the night is still young, so I'm sure I'll be feeling even better in a couple of hours. But I just wanted to say hi to everyone and, knock them dead this week, guys. I'll see you next week.
All right, Tom. Thanks a lot. Appreciate that. That's great. And we have we have a little segment with Tom actually coming up where we recorded a couple of days ago where we just talk about what he's been doing this week besides enjoying himself on boats. That was great.
Yeah, so
So
So Dominic, just to pick up on the the event and the Ford Mustang Mach-E, the 1400, it really was quite a spectacular time for me. I barely fit in the car.
Well, do you want to explain what it is, Dad? Because I don't think anyone's ever heard of the 1400.
Right.
Like we know what it is because we see, this is our kind of stuff. Most of our audience is not into performance driving at all. So this is a, new world for them.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, Kyle, do you want to give an overview? Or I'm happy to as well, whichever.
Sure, I can do it pretty quick. And basically, it's just if you take a Mustang Mach-E body in white, if you will, which is just the shell. And there is no resemblance to the production car beyond that at all, other than styling. They have 7 motors in this thing, own custom battery pack in there. It does huge skids. It's absolutely insane. Massive cooling package, completely bespoke suspension. Everything is, not realistic from a Mustang Mach-E other than the shape. But Ford built this to basically take it to auto shows, not necessarily EV shows, to help dispel the myths of what EVs could be. So they put a whole bunch of people in this car. It's got 4 racing seats, and they take it around and basically take people for hot laps. And my dad can talk about that experience. But the whole idea was not necessarily to say this is what Mustang Mach-E can do, but this is what electric can do. It's a pretty cool project.
Right. And that lady that was on the video here, if you're watching this on YouTube, she is actually the driver as well. And so, yeah, she's in the car giving us a thumbs
Colette's
up.
a famous YouTuber as well. She's on Adam LZ's girlfriend. They're always filming stuff. They're, very, very well known in the car space, and she's great. So have known her from watching videos for a long time. So it was cool to see my dad with her in this.
Right. Actually, this video is on the Out of Spec Dave channel, and it's actually really good because Dave took the time to go around and talk with, get a lot of technical details I don't think anyone's really gotten before. It was kind of amazing. I didn't have a chance to watch the whole thing myself last night, but you got a lot of good information there if you're kind of interested about the cooling. There's some great stats. I think it pumps through like was it 50 gallons of dielectric fluid a minute to the battery system?
That's right.
So this like external.
So basically, what happens with this car? It's really just it's an insane drift car, and the number 1400 is that's the horsepower that it has. It's got 4 motors in the back, 3 in the front, and what happens is every 3 runs that they do, and they're 45-second runs, and they spin the car around, they need to change the tires because they just rip through the tires. Uh-huh. And this particular parking lot that you see here on Long Island, it was very coarse, almost like a cheese grater. So it really, ripped through the tires very, very quickly. But they had almost like Ford brings, it's in combination with RTR, which is, I guess, a racing modification company that they bring their whole truck. They've got the whole setup. They've got tires, and if you will, almost like a NASCAR racing crew that changes the tires as they need to do it. They do 3 runs, change tires. They do that 3 times, 9 runs. Then they have to take the car back to the truck, and they have to connect it up to this device that runs that 50 gallons of dielectric fluid through the battery. When they're running the car on the track, the battery is dry. It doesn't have any fluid in it. And so what they need to do is cool that battery down through a cycle and also charge the battery up. What's interesting is the battery, the way it's designed, and this is what one of the engineers that it was explaining to me, is when they are charging the battery pack, the fastest the battery pack will charge is 60 kilowatts. That's it. But they actually charge it at 40 because they need time to cool the battery pack down, because it's just this 1,500-pound hunk of metal that needs time to cool down. So anyway, bottom line is it's a big draw for those people that are at the show. It blows a ton of smoke. My shirt was covered in rubber because they leave the windows open when you go down, and it's just a great way to say, holy smokes, this thing, it rips. It has so much power, and as Kyle said, look, I think it's more of a showcase as to pushing the envelope redefine, perhaps in some people's mind, what electric can do. Definitely not something you're going to see anywhere on the road. It's a one-of-a-kind car. There's only one in the world, and I got to drive in it, and Kyle, you didn't yet, so I'm psyched.
Right on. So another big thing this week, you got your first press vehicle, I think, ever. That seems like a bit of a,
I did, yes.
kind of a big deal. So what'd you get, and what are you doing with it?
Yeah, so I picked up a Ford F-150 Lightning. This is a Platinum, and I'm going to be making at least 4 or 5 videos with it over the weekend, and it's really exciting for me. Now, I've driven in Tom's in his F-150 Lightning before, and
Okay.
I've driven, actually, I think all electric families. I think I drove in his. I can't remember. So I've driven them before, but now I have time to spend in the vehicle and do a road trip with it. I'm going to be taking it up to Albany, New York this weekend, where the head of the F-150, the Lightning Club,
Right.
he started off just as New England, but now he's running it nationally. It's a Facebook group, and I'm gonna go up and visit Joe up there in Albany. And then I'm going to see a couple of other people. I'm going to throw my wife Kathy in it and see what she thinks of it. I'm the only one that can drive it because the way the press vehicles work, you have to sign all these. I mean, Domenick, it was unbelievable. There's so many fine print. I signed my life away. I don't know what I signed, but yeah, I've got my first press vehicle. I'm pretty excited to test it out.
Right on. I mean, that's not the only Ford F-150 Lightning you had the deal with this week. You also did like a special, like a debut presentation of the new of a new trim of the Ford F-150 Lightning. It's the
That's right.
You tell me what it is.
That's right. It's the so Ford announced yesterday morning at 9 a.m. They had a press release about a new version of the F-150 Lightning. So basically, you have the Pro, which is kind of the base truck, then the XLT, then you got the Lariat, then you have the Platinum, and now what they've done is they've added on a Platinum Black kit, which adds $6,500 to the price. This thing is 98 grand. Okay, so and it's going to be coming out in 2024, and it is a 3M vinyl wrapped. They take a black Platinum truck. And then what they do is they wrap it in this 3M material. That's not the truck right there. That's a guy from Washington. That big guy right there.
Yeah.
That's his truck.
Okay.
They kind of patterned this truck after.
Right.
And so, and what they do, Domenick, is they add some features to the Platinum. So things that are available as options on the Platinum, such as the automatic running boards, such as the sprayed-in, bed liner, and then also the fold-up tonneau cover. They come with all of that. But the other thing that's really kind of, I think, really a good thing about this black Platinum Black are the black seats. And one of the reasons is that the only trim you can get in a Platinum, I think, are like this light gray color that, it looks nice, but I'm not sure about the wear and if you're wearing jeans and that kind of thing.
Sure.
So black interior as well. So yeah, they debuted this. Basically, it's another trim level.
So that's
it's not like there's any additional functionality.
Okay. So those seats, I guess, those are what they call those Lux Black Premium Nirvana leather seating surfaces. That's pretty fancy sounding.
Yeah, Nirvana seats, whatever. I mean, it's they got, same 22-inch tires, a little bit of a modified wheel. That's unique to the Platinum Black.
There's a lot of visual touches on this.
Yeah, and the one thing though, Kyle and I were talking about this. The one thing that's of substance here, which may be indicative of what they're going to do for model year 2024. You see the charge port that right there that I'm showing.
Right.
They put some like high gloss plastic on spots where you touch, because when you touch matte black, even though it's a wrap, it kind of gets a little bit discolored, if you will.
Sure.
So But what's interesting is on the F-150, they have a false charge port on the starboard side, on the right side of the F-150, and it serves no purpose, right? So what they've done is they've eliminated that on this F-150 Platinum Black. And if you think about it, that's a material change, because now you've got a whole new stamp for that front right fender that you have to make. And it seems to me that if Ford is going to the trouble of putting out only this unit is only available 2,000, or they're only going to make 2,000 of these, why would they go through the whole trouble of creating a whole new front fender to only make 2,000 vehicles? So, you know, maybe it's a little bit of speculation, but maybe for the 2024 model year, they'll eliminate that faux charge port on the right-hand side of the car.
Right. It would be right here, right? Generally.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Yeah. So that's gone. Yeah. So that's mostly visual changes, but it does have it will have Blue Cruise 1.2 with lane change assist and in-lane repositioning, as well as walkaway locking, which is kind of nice. But and there's 2,000 copies of this going to be made. So I guess if you like the matte black Ford F-150 Lightnings and have a good chunk of change, they start at $97,995. That's
the
a good
thing
chunk
is,
of change.
you know, but Domenick, think about this, right? It's a lot of money, but $6,500 option gives you a matte black wrap, which if you do a wrap, you go to a high-end wrap shop, that's at least $4 or $5 grand.
Yeah.
You do a spray and bed liner. How much is that? 1,000? I don't know. You do the automatic, what do you call them? The sidestep thing. That's got to be a pretty expensive option.
That thing's that's a couple grand. That's got to be a couple grand. I don't know.
Right. So so when you really start to unpack the 6,500, dare I say that sounds like a pretty good value, as opposed to if you were to do this by buying a platinum and wrap it yourself. The problem is, not to say the problem, but man, is that platinum, the base of that thing is 93 grand. It's a lot of money. So you start getting up with delivery, this truck is just a tick under $100,000, and there's no added functionality. It's not like this has a larger battery pack, or it's not like it's got, you know, extra range, or, you know, it's the same truck. It's just an appearance package. But dare I say that $6,500 to me, that's a good value. It's just that it's pricey when you add it all up, man. That's a lot of money for a pickup truck.
Right. Yep. Well, all right. Well, thanks for sharing that with us. I think we can let's talk to Tom again. He was not joining us live, but we do have a little bit of a recording that we made the other day, and we're going to talk about the EV charging adapters are now banned from major networks. So let's hear his take on this situation. Hello, Tom. How you doing?
Domenick, how's it going? Doing pretty good. Still on the cruise.
I see that. It looks like you're in a boat. Lots of like galley doors down the hallway behind you.
It's a ship, Dom. A ship.
Right. Right.
Yes. There's a lot of doors behind me. I'm actually trying to get a good solid signal. Where I am now, I wasn't getting a good signal, so I had to go stand outside of my room. I couldn't be on the out on the patio like I was last time.
Right. So we just wanted to get in touch with you real quick. We won't keep you for too long, but we just want to ask you. So you have a video coming out, and I think we touched on this a little bit in a previous episode, but you kind of get into the details of it now. Apparently, the major charging networks are banning adapters. Sort of. Can you do that? What's up with that?
So yes, they technically they can. Whether or not they can enforce it, that's a.
Oops.
Briefly mentioned this in one of our previous shows. If you remember, a few weeks ago, Electrify America sent out an email that they were going to be changing their price structure. They were transitioning from a set pricing to more of a dynamic pricing that was going to change from station to station, kind of like what Tesla does with their superchargers now. They don't have set pricing. It depends on what they pay for the energy, which is probably the most fair way of doing it. But they also said, we've also updated our terms of use. So I went to the terms of use and read through it, and I noticed something that I hadn't noticed before. Now, they could have snuck this in there at some point previously, and I just missed it, but I never saw this before. And I read Electrify America's terms of use at some point in the past. And basically, there's a line in there now that says, you're prohibited from using third-party adapters on our network, adapters that aren't made by auto manufacturers specifically for use on their vehicles. So right now, only Tesla makes adapters for DC fast charging or even for level 2 charging. So they're basically saying if Tesla didn't make it, you can't use it on our network.
Wow.
And the thing is, Dom, this is going to get even more complex now that these manufacturers are transitioning to the North American charging standard, the NACS connector, because now you're going to see even more adapters come out than before. Right. Previously, we had the CCS1 adapter, so Tesla vehicles could use CCS1 chargers. But now we're going to get the opposite. We're going to get adapters that allow CCS vehicles to charge on Tesla superchargers or North American charging standard connectors, which all of the networks are going to have. So there's a crazy amount of adapters out there now. Just go on Amazon and do search for CCS1 adapter. You'll see dozens and dozens and dozens of them. And the problem is, and this is the problem is, some of them I searched, some of them were as cheap as $60, while others cost many hundreds of dollars. So you know that the $60 one isn't built well. Let's face it, it's just not made well. And it probably can't withstand the amount of power that is going to be passing through it for prolonged periods of time. So basically, I think Electrify America and EVgo. I also mentioned in the video that I reached out to both networks to comment on this, and they both responded and told me, look, this is for safety reasons. We can't have all these adapters being used on our network. What if somebody gets hurt? What if they damage their car? What if they damage the charger? Then they're going to be, we're not going to pay for that. If you use a non-authorized adapter and you cause harm or damage, it's on you. We're not going to be held responsible. That's basically what the ban is. They're not going to. There's not going to be the adapter police going around and going to the charging stations and seeing if people are using adapters and saying, hey, you're banned. You can't use our chargers anymore. That's not going to happen. I think this is more of a liability thing. Right.
So this kind of like legal language built into their terms that just protects them should somebody, get a crappy adapter and there's an incident of some sort. So this like legal protection.
I think that's really mostly what this is about. It's about the legal end of it, not preventing people from using their network. And I think both networks were appreciative that I picked up this type of a topic and wanted to talk about adapter safety. So that's why I made a video on it, because there's a lot of issues that you could have. The adapters might not be built well enough. Some of these adapters don't have the safety mechanisms to lock the adapter to the connector while it's charging, and you can basically unplug it hot, which
that's no good.
I mean, it's a problem unplugging a charger hot when it's on level 2, 240 volt. But now you're talking about 800 volts, 400 volts, 800 volts or more, up to 500 amps passing through this thing. And it's a huge issue if somebody trips over the cable and it unplugs it pulls the adapter away from the connector. So you got to urge the followers to be safe and only use. Am I breaking up?
Yeah, you're breaking up there for a second. It'll let it gather itself back together again, because it's mostly pretty good. It's just sorry
about that.
No, it's fine. Yeah. So this will be interesting. So I expect to see. So you're the king of EVSE reviews, home charger reviews. I can see you coming up with a testing protocol for these adapters as well. Is that on your radar?
It's possible, but quite honestly, I will review them. I'll continue to review them. I have a lot of them in the garage right now. But, I also understand what my wheelhouse is. I'm not an engineer. I think a Sandy Munro teardown is probably better than, I mean, I could tear the thing down and look at it and say, this doesn't look right, but I don't really know, so I think somebody who's maybe an electrical engineer needs to pull these things apart and really test them rigorously. Or, you know what, they just needs to be a standards body that certifies them. And
that would be nice.
You just don't buy it if it's not certified. So I think that's going to happen. This is still a new industry. I know we've been driving EVs for a decade or so now, but it's still in its infancy. And these adapters are still something that's very new. And you know how it takes time to get caught up to stuff like this. But I think we're going to see that. But for now, if you're one of our followers, please don't buy the least expensive, cheap CCS adapter you find online. It's probably not going to be built that well.
Yeah, maybe we can find some decent ones that we can have confidence that we can recommend or something at some point, once we have a bit more information and everything.
Yeah, I'll definitely be doing that moving forward, especially once the NACS adapters come out. Exactly, so that's going to be a big point.
Because there's going to be a lot of those. I mean, people are going to be buying those by the probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions.
100%.
So there's something else in the news this week I wanted to ask you while we have you on here. We got a couple of minutes. Rivian R1S has Rivian's designed a camp kitchen for this. That's the SUV version of their platform. And originally they had a camp kitchen for the R1T pickup truck, which you owned at one point. I think you bought it because it had this crazy camp kitchen that slid out of the storage space there. So I don't know. I guess did you see this camp kitchen for the R1S? And does that you think it's not a real product? It was just a patent, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's cool to see that Rivian is still trying to make this work. And yeah, it was one of the reasons that one of the things I was excited about when I ordered my R1T, and I ordered it with the Rivian camp kitchen option. Obviously I didn't get it. And it's also one of the reasons why I decided to keep the Lightning over the Rivian. I had both pickup trucks and I was deciding which one to keep. And I tell you, if the Rivian had the camp kitchen in it, that would have been a big plus on the Rivian side, because I think that's just such a cool feature, be able to roll up to a some sort of an outdoor event, a campsite, I go to football games, tailgating parties, and roll that thing out and start cooking would be fantastic. So if they do make the R1S camp kitchen, I'll take a look at it. But, it has to take up some storage space in the back of the R1S. Whereas with the R1T, I really didn't use the gear tunnel much. I had enough space in the frunk and in the vehicle. For me, that was the perfect place to put it, because it just rolled right in that gear tunnel that I don't have a need for. With the R1S, it's going to be taking up space in the back.
Yeah. So you're breaking up for a second. So, but you were saying that the R1S, if you put the camp kitchen, it's going to take up some storage space in the back there. I think you're coming back in with this. Yeah, I can hear you now.
My back?
I think so.
Okay.
Kind of. It's a little sketchy. Your voice and image aren't quite synced up.
All right. Well, so we could probably call it quits. You can jump back to the regular weekly podcast. Sure. I tried to make an appearance on this week's show. But yeah, I think you were right as far as what I was saying with the R1S. It's probably not going to be as good a product as it would have been for the R1T, where it pulls out of the camp kitchen. So I'll take a look at it, pulls out of the gear tunnel. I'll take a look at it. Maybe I'll get it. We'll see if it ever becomes available.
Yeah, well, it combines two of your favorite things: electric vehicles and cooking stuff. If you don't know, for those of you out there who don't know, Tom had an Italian restaurant for many years, and I believe you got to love cooking if you're going to run a restaurant, right?
Absolutely, yeah. For 29 years, I actually owned a restaurant in a previous life.
That's right.
So yeah, we'll see if it becomes available. I'll kick the tires.
All right. Well, we'll let you get back to your current life, which is like a life of luxury. Taking a break, actually, because you work very hard all year round, and so this little bit of time floating around on a boat, hopefully, recharge your batteries, so to speak.
It has been. It's really been fantastic. It's been a great trip so far. I don't want to go home.
Right. All right. Well, we'll leave it with you there, and we'll see you next week on our launch show, our official first. Episode 1. All right. Looking forward to this.
See you
Right
guys.
on. Okay. Ciao. And we're back. Hey, and we're all back. Awesome. Okay, so that's Tom out in the middle of floating on a boat. But so Kyle, you were not floating on a boat this week. You got to do some great things, and we talked a little bit about this last show because you had just arrived to Monterey for Car Week, and so you saw a number of vehicles there. But let's just talk about the most important or the vehicle that you love the most, that you at least that you reviewed. So you have a nice long review of this thing, and I'll pull it up on the screen. The Lotus Eletre. Depends how you want to pronounce it. We're not exactly sure. We need a British voice to tell us exactly how that should be. The Queen's English. This car, and yeah, what color is that?
I forget. It's in the video somewhere. It's some blossom iridescent thing.
Okay. Yeah. So this is I really enjoyed this video. So bring us back here. So, and Alyssa, who is filming this for you, she loved this too as well. So tell us a bit about the Lotus Eletre. I believe it's on the Geely. Lotus is owned by Geely, I guess, mostly, and this is on the SEA, the C-S platform. That sound right to you?
It's on a different chassis than Polestar 3 and EX90, but there are some similar bits that are shared.
Right.
So Lotus at least claims it's on a bespoke platform. I didn't go up under there looking at all the metal, but all I can say is, wow, big numbers here. Just seemingly does all the right things. Huge charging performance, 350 kilowatt peak, I believe. Holds super deep into the pack, similar charging profile to Taycan. Probably the new best charging electric car on the market, I would think.
Okay.
Based off of Bjorn's test. I didn't have a chance to charge it. This was a Euro spec car and a CCS 2 port, so doesn't work with us. And I didn't bring my 1 to 2 adapter, but that's not rated for 500 amps anyway.
Right.
So yeah, the car was, it seems great. It looks interesting. At first I was like, wow, that's ugly. And then I spent time with it up front in person, and actually it's very intricate, very cool. It's got huge active, not necessarily active, but huge air management where you can see through the bodywork and look down into the tires. Very Lotus Avaya-esque, if you will. Some things coming through there. Very cool car. And yeah, so price is high $90,000 starting range for the regular Eletre. Then it can go to the S model, which gives you nicer interior, bigger sound system, but it's mostly an option package. And then the R, the Lotus Eletre R, is the one I drove, which kind of has all this stuff, or at least some of the stuff. You can still option ceramic brakes and other things beyond that. But it's got 900 horsepower, 2-speed on the rear axle, which is an interesting decision.
Right.
Yeah, overall, it's just seemingly an insane car. Drove amazing, really drove great. But it drove a little bit different than the electric cars we're used to, which is it didn't have neck snapping acceleration when you smash the throttle. It smooths in the power. But man, if you stay in it, this thing gets hustling really good. It was really fun on a back road. We were coming out of corners with the opposite lock, sliding it around. It was great. And so it does the performance stuff. It does the daily driving comfort wafting thing. It was so quiet. It has 4 or 5 LiDARs all around the vehicle that pop in and out of these little compartments. And the one on the roof pops out of the roof rather than just sitting there like EX90, which is so much better looking than just having a giant LiDAR on the roof like Neo has and others. Overall, I was just really impressed with the color is maybe blossom gray is what someone's commenting, but it's not the spec I would go for. I'd actually go green on a gray interior, green on tan, something like that. And
okay,
make green great again. I mean, I'm all about green cars, so that's the way it should be. Yeah, so this would look great in China, but not in Fort Collins, Colorado in this spec. So yeah, really, really a cool car. We loved it. Alyssa fell in love with it. And I mean, there's just so much more to do. So it's an amazing machine.
So yeah, it's got a 111.9 kilowatt hour gross battery. I understand 109 kilowatt hours usable, so it's a pretty small. It's just a couple of kilowatt hours of.
Well, yeah, where'd you get that data from? Because everything I saw was about 104, 105 usable.
This was on a European EV spec website.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think it's got a little bit bigger buffer than that. Just according to Lotus, it was about 104, 105 usable.
Okay. Okay. I should not use unverified numbers. Yeah. But yeah, it's situation. I mean, that's the only information I could find real quick.
Yeah, so the price range, the one thing I should mention is,
Sure.
90 starting, but the one I drove was like, the pricing for the US hasn't been announced or confirmed, but probably 160, 170. I mean, it was up there.
A lot of money.
Well, yeah, when you compare it to Taycan Cross Turismo, especially in the Turbo and Turbo S trims, it's one hell of a deal because you get so much more space, still very high quality, great handling, not nearly as good as Taycan, but very good handling, and like really a cool package for less money than a Turbo S Cross Turismo. So like that seems good. But when you compare it to Model X Plaid, it seems like a terrible value on paper, but this is way beyond the numbers on paper. If you want to just go fast in a straight line, get a Model X Plaid. That's what that thing does really well. But this was intricate and cool and slightly exotic and really lots of nice stuff going on here. Even interestingly, I'm a Lotus fan. So like to me, it's a little bit of sacrilege to the brand to do this, because there's nothing here that's light. Everything is heavy. But what's interesting is at Car Week, there was car enthusiasts everywhere. And we had, 4 or 5 different Lotus owners pop over while I was filming this car. They were so excited to see it out on the road. And, probably 3 of them were like, this is amazing. I love it. We're going to get one as the family car. And the others were like, nope, this is not a Lotus, not into it. But at least they understood why they made the car. They're like, I get why they have to do it, so I can keep driving my sports cars.
Right.
And that's sort of the point of this vehicle here.
Because Lotus is like a small volume sports car company, basically, or it was until Geely bought them.
Yeah, it seems like they're going a little bit huge expansions going on here.
Right, exactly. And I mean, without Geely buying them, I think they would have gone away. If not by now. I mean,
it's possible.
It's a shrinking business. A small producer of gasoline combustion cars, sports cars. I don't know. So yes, they need some electric vehicles in their lineup at least to begin with, and
they have some great sports cars.
Oh my
this
God.
new Emira that's just coming out, V6 manual, looks great. I have one coming up in LA to spend some time with, which won't be on anything we talk about on this show, but that'll be really cool.
Right. I'm not sure what I think about the red in the interior, but I'm not really a red interior guy. But
me either.
The rest of it is kind of cool. I like the pillars in front of, sort of like the way the dash goes. Each side has like its own little. It looks like a plinth, basically. Yeah,
the Electra is just a car that we've never really covered that closely. It always felt a little bit distant.
Here's a question. Sorry to interrupt you. I had a really question. Okay, so you see that knurling around the cup holder, and stuff. How did that feel?
It's metal.
Because it looks like what's in the Cadillac Lyric, right?
Right, feels so much better.
But right, so I just wanted to interject and say, Cadillac, this is what you got to do with that knurling.
Yes, just take this and put it in the Cadillac. Yep, exactly. Right. But like even on the shifter, like it's all like really thick metal. It feels great. All the touch points here are just like raising the bar. But again, I don't know how much of that transfers to the base car. This is so much more expensive than a Lyric. This is 3 times the price of a Lyric. True. So it should have some metal bits on the inside.
And it's as you mentioned, it's a huge jump up in price from the regular spec Electra, the other trims of Electra. But this also has 300 more horsepower. It's like 905, right?
Yeah, but it's always a hard case to show or to prove or to influence someone to spend a lot of money for more power in an electric car, because in years of old, if you were to spec up to an AMG or an M or, you know, even an Alpina or something like this. You're going for, you know, the high-end version, the spicy version of the base car. You have a different startup sound, a different daily driving characteristic. The whole car feels and sounds and different. This, I imagine, I haven't driven the base car. I'm lucky enough to have driven the R, because I think most reviewers have only driven the base car.
Right.
But I imagine they drive pretty much the same. And the only time you feel the difference is when you go past 70% throttle. And that's, you know, you're still spending that same upcharge for not that same, you know, expanded experience, if you will. So it's a hard spend there. You know, Alyssa really loved this. And I'm like, okay, well, it can fit the dogs. It's huge on the inside, but like we would never consider the R. We would go for the base car.
Right. I mean, but yeah, I guess the base car specs looked it looked pretty good. I think it was sub 6 seconds, 0 to 60. This is like a 2.9 seconds,
It's
which
four
is,
and a half 0 to 60
which
on the
is
base car.
actually that's great. That's fine.
It's hard to say, because to me, it's not necessarily about 0 to 60. It's about how the power is fed in.
True.
And so I just don't know, because the thing is, I think about how we use our cars, and I'm not drag racing at every light, unless I'm in the Plaid doing something stupid, right? Like we already have the fast car, so there's no need for this to be fast. I'm not saying we are going to get one, but it's something she won't shut up about. She loves it.
I mean, yeah, I would trade the Audi e-tron in for that.
Not if you saw the values of current e-trons.
Oh, that's a good point. Actually, we mentioned that last week. There's some great deals for Audi e-trons out there on the used market. 2019 is for like just over 30 with, you know, not
It's a
crazy
buy.
mileage. Yeah, it's
Just
like
buy a
some good deals out
2019
there.
e-tron. They're
So
you know.
this is like, so this particular episode, we have like a lot of expensive cars, which is, you know, kind of, you're at Monterey Car Week, so it's like that's a premium luxury car event, and so, you know,
Yeah,
most
this
of
is
the cars that
expensive car week. Next week we'll get back to the bolts.
right. But if you're looking for a deal, you know, go get on whatever site, your car shopping site, and look up the Audi e-tron.
Hey, Dominic.
Yes.
Dominic, on the theme of expensive cars, if you want, I'm happy to chime in on the Geely. I did see the EX30 at Electrify Expo on Long Island. So when you're ready for some balance on like a $35,000 car, I'm ready to chime in. So.
Oh, you saw the Volvo EX30. Is it Volvo? Yeah, Volvo EX30.
Yeah. So Volvo had the first EX30 in the country shown at Electrify Expo on Long Island a couple weeks ago, and it really was. They didn't let me sit in it, but it looked very airy, bright and airy. I know Kyle has spent time with the car, but that was kind of like the talk of the show, I must say.
Yeah, that's going to be.
And it seemed like it was very popular. And Volvo has, you know, they also had the EX90 there. They were showing off as well. So they had, you know, the full lineup from the EX30 to the C40 to the XC40 and then the EX90. Plus they had the big Mac Daddy bus, you know, the Prevost bus with the trailer that has the special espresso coffee trailer with it as well, and their whole design center. And you know, it was really great to see that little vehicle. A lot of interest in that. Seems like it's a little bit smaller than the XC40, but it seems like a great value. I really enjoyed that car.
Yeah, that's gonna be hot. That's like, it's like compact, but looks, you know, pretty relatively spacious for its size, and just great numbers like charging, efficiency, just range, just great numbers all around, and the low price, like starting at 35, I believe you said, right?
That's what they claim, somewhere around there. You know, we won't know until it comes out for sure. Peak charging rate was I was told it was 153 kilowatts, but you know, range is in the Kyle, I think maybe in the mid 200s, somewhere in there. But you know, look, for a daily driver, great car. They're not going to be shipping it with NACS to start. It's going to come with an adapter.
Okay.
That was a little disappointing, especially since it's a 2024 model. But
Right.
you know, you would think they could get out in front of that. But it's a global launch, and they got to figure out how to get this car in the hands of a lot of people. I think it's going to be an interesting Model 3 Challenger, but you know, from a price standpoint. But it's got that sport ute look to it. I think it's going to be a pretty popular vehicle.
Right on. Yeah, I think so too. Okay.
Yeah, I love the EX30. I actually ordered one. Not saying I really want one, but it's like I know someone who's going to want my reservation.
Sure.
And maybe we'll use it for something and then move it along, or who knows. But I'm sort of on this new electric car launches. I'm just reserving them. And then, if someone wants one, then we at least got it reserved, because so many of my friends are just switching to electric and getting into this, and then their wives or girlfriends or whatever, they're all interested in this too. And so like just having cars on order seems like the move. So Dad, EX30 just seems like the ultimate daily driver, doesn't it? It'll have the Tesla connector. It's way cooler than like a Model 3 or Model Y. It's also a lot smaller, but like it's a slightly premium, trendy, cool looking thing that you can actually charge and get around.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna draw a lot of people into Volvo. That's not the car right there, to be clear.
Right.
That's up on the screen. But look, you find sometimes there's a lot of brand loyalty, and they're thinking there were people that were driving. I ran into 3 separate people. Each one of them drives a Nissan Leaf now, and they can't wait for the EX30. And so they're going to bring. I think Volvo's going to bring in a lot of new customers with this. And the XC40. I think it's kind of pricey, isn't it, Kyle? And the range is not great. Although they are going to have an update on that car at some point for 2024 model year. They're going to extend the battery and get that. But look, if this EX30, it's going to be a hit. It already was. They're going to be taking on a tour across the entire country, and I think they've got a nice vehicle on their hands. They're really good.
Right on. Hey, so we do have the Maserati Folgore on the screen right now if you're watching this on YouTube. And I had this on here because you got the chance to, this launched last year, I believe, last fall, I think. But this is your first time around the car, Kyle, to see it in person?
Well, they have not started production.
Right.
This is still the same car that everyone's done stuff with. There really weren't many videos on this car, to be honest.
Right.
I think they really kind of, from a communication standpoint, didn't really tell anyone about it. They told like a couple outlets, a couple YouTube videos, nothing that crazy. And so anyway, certainly our audience didn't really know about this car being in the EV nerd sphere. And
it's not under the radar for sure.
Say that again?
It's definitely flying under the radar because it's got some great specs. And I just thought we could hit those really quick and move along because we've got a bunch of other cars to talk about.
But what I guess I'll give you a quick overview of this. Is the Gran Turismo model. For Folgore just means electric. So there'll be an MC20 Folgore, there'll be a Grecale Folgore, etc. down the model line. And the car looks identical to the combustion one, which uses a 3-liter twin turbo V6, and that's available in sort of a lower power version, a mid power, and then the top spec of this car, at least on terms of numbers on paper, is electric. And they always said their electric ones will be better than their combustion cars leading into the electric era, which this is a big departure for Maserati because they've always had some of the best sounding cars and some of the least reliable cars. And that was just the Maserati thing. Or you were like the dude driving a $599 lease on a Ghibli that no one liked. So, now, they have some interesting new models coming into the market. This is going to be well over $200,000 is my estimate. But the numbers seem pretty good. 800 volt roughly system architecture. I'll probably be just slightly higher voltage than Taycan is my guess, because they use the same exact cells as Taycan. Again, I'm not really sure how it's arranged, but I imagine similar to Porsche, they probably just copied some of their homework and added some more cells to it. So it's slightly larger capacity. It's 93 kilowatt hour gross, 83 kilowatt hour usable roughly. So small-ish battery pack. But for a Grand Tour, you should expect to see somewhere in the mid 200 miles of range, which is fine. Great charging performance. I imagine it'll at least match Taycan and do maybe a little bit better. And that's one of the best charging electric cars in the market. Maserati really focused on the charging performance of this car. 400 kilowatts of regen, which is absolutely massive. And this is their like prototype mule. This thing had like 8,000 kilometers on it. It had been through the desert. You open up the charge port, it's all dirty and nasty in there.
That's true.
And it was pretty cool. Yeah, they have a Sonos Faber sound system, which just sounded incredible. And so that was really cool. Yeah, overall the thing looked really better than I was expecting. I was expecting me to go, oh, well, it's a Maserati. It's not very good. We'll have to wait to drive it. And I was actually like, oh, okay, it's got good tech. Lets me adjust the charging stuff. It's got a route planner, like does all the things you need it to do.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I had the same kind of thought in my head because Maserati has like that reputation that you mentioned earlier, but this looks really kind of nice inside, like just everything like soft and just looks inviting and comfortable and not ostentatious, which is
Hey Kyle, was this the car that you were saying that the stereo was so loud it was making your ears bleed, or what there was one you saw last week that was the stereo was ridiculously loud. Was it this car?
No, that was the Eletre, which had like a 2.5 kilowatt sound system.
right. 2000 watts, man.
Yeah, well over 2,000 watts. But I like how you can measure sound system peak output in terms of kilowatts now. But I was at like 40%, and it was like so loud. A little bit similar actually to our e-tron. Our e-tron, like if I go past half volume, it gets pretty crazy.
Right. Right on. So that's the Folgore. You also had some videos where you so if people wanted to see what Monterey Car Week was like at least the electric side of things, you have a video where you kind of walk around the whole grounds of it. I guess I could probably pull it up here. You just, like I have all the cars you saw, and there's a bunch like Kia EV9, EV6 GT, Pininfarina Battista Edition, Nina Farina Hyper GT. That's one car. The pure this vision design concept also from Pininfarina, and we're going to talk about this in a moment, the B95 Barchetta. My Italian pronunciation, you look at this word and you think it's Barchetta, but no, when there's an H you don't pronounce the H, and then when there's not an H you pronounce the H, I guess. I don't know. Rolls-Royce Spectre, Lotus Eletre Acura ZDX, Rimac Nevera, Myers Manx. We'll talk about that in a minute. A couple different versions. Hispano Suiza you saw, which not your favorite car, but I thought it was interesting to see there. And then the Lexus RZ600E. We need to see that car because that was nuts. I mean, out of the whole, we'll talk about some of these other ones already. Oh, that's not the one. No, I need to cancel that. And then uncancel that. Okay. Some problems on my end here with bringing up the proper video.
What car are you wanting to feature? I can talk about it at least.
The Lexus.
The RZ Sport concept. But this is the dumbest thing there.
Was it?
Yeah, because it's not going into production. It's a concept. It's like not a thing.
You think it's like? Well, I mean, yeah. I was going to say. I was going to ask. They're not going to make it, but then I remembered what it looked like actually, and yeah, they're probably not going to.
Right. It's got these wings. It's got double wings on the back, carbon fiber tacked all over it. Yeah, it's a very interesting looking machine. But the interesting bit is typically they would do the sport concept, and the RZ 450E is the one everyone can buy, and they would just do a sport version of that. This said RZ 600E. So there is a chance that there will be a higher performance version RZ coming down the line based off of the badging here.
Right. It might not have those double spoiler thing going on.
Right. I doubt it would, because that's really dumb. Imagine pulling out of the Lexus dealer with those things on the back of your car.
Yeah, no, you're banned from Lexus dealerships with those on your car. I think.
Yeah, that's just not. But it's yeah. I don't even know why we're talking about that. What caught your eye about the RZ? Because that was really dumb.
It was just unexpected. It was. I saw the 450E front, and I saw around the back it was like the 600E, and I was like, oh, well, that's weird. Okay, it was just unexpected. I'd seen everything else already.
Yeah, sure.
But there's some great cars, and then we'll talk about some of those in a bit. Also,
the cars there, the electric cars were the lamest cars of the show. I mean, some of these crazy $20-30 million combustion cars of, old Ferraris, old Mercedes, just crazy stuff. So, yeah, really amazing. But that's not for this show, unfortunately.
Right. But there was a car there that, oops, that's not what I want to do. There was a car there that you didn't put on video, but you did share on Twitter. And I wanted to share that with you all now, because maybe there's a story behind this. I'm not sure.
No story.
No story?
No.
Okay.
but that's the Bollinger B1 concept, the same one that's been rolling around for years.
Okay. This has got
And,
the doors off, and so I was like, is that a different? What is that exactly? You know, I just want to know the story. So it's kind of weird that because the Bollinger is not making this for consumers, right? This is just, I guess, a demonstrator or something.
although that might be coming back, it kind of sounds like maybe the consumer thing is starting back up.
Yeah.
Yeah, just based off of rumors that I'm hearing. But
Okay.
yeah, yeah, I mean, I know the guys at Bollinger. I was just driving down the road, and everyone in the car industry is at this one event. So we just pulled in, and we were just hanging out, and we were like, "Oh yeah, that's a great spot there."
Right on. Yeah, I was I'm just was a big fan of the whole Bollinger thing, and I was disappointed when it moved away from the consumer market and going for commercial vehicles.
It's why we shouldn't cover concepts.
Right. I mean, but they were, yeah.
That's
It's
proof.
it's interesting just to watch. So people, even if they're not successful in the end, just like the effort in trying to start, the car companies. It's a new phenomenon in the last 10 years, right? With Tesla.
Yeah.
Basically, let's start a car company. Great idea. Not easy.
Right.
Not in any way. It's like, but
it looked great going down the road. It was like built for that area. It was awesome, but it's not worth spending any time on it.
Right. What I did want to spend a little bit of time on though was you visited Lucid this week, I believe.
Yes.
On Monday, was it? And you didn't really share a whole lot with that as far as video goes, but
well, not yet.
Okay.
I will have a video coming.
Okay. I wasn't aware of that. That's great then. Let me see if I can pull that up. So, do you want to talk about that a little bit? What you saw at Lucid?
Yeah, totally. So this was a really cool opportunity to go to Lucid. For those of you who don't know, Out of Spec Dave's Lucid, I've been lucky enough to contribute to the car to borrow it for the summer. So I've had it for some time, and I've done 10,000 miles on it, maybe just a little bit more, and we've cannonballed it. We've done everything you need to do with the Lucid. We've driven it slow to get all the range out of it. We've driven it 70 miles an hour, 10% challenge, which, by the way, the Lucid won the 10% challenge. We just haven't put up the video because Ryan filmed it so poorly. So we may have to I actually kind of want to redo it a little bit because it was like a really hot day. It wasn't perfect conditions all around. So I think we can actually make it do better.
Okay.
So I was talking to Lucid about that. We'll come up with a plan there. But basically, yeah, the Lucid beat the Taycan just by a couple miles. And I think it could do better than that.
Do you remember how many miles? Do you want to say? Want to say that?
We have it written down somewhere. I don't know. It doesn't matter. People don't really know the 10% challenge yet.
Right.
So anyway, I went there. They invited me and Alyssa just to go after Car Week. I had been lucky enough to know some of the engineers there and of course their team. And they're like, well, let's come in. Let's do like a real technical nerd day. And it was literally an entire day with their engineering teams, just learning information on the car, not necessarily couldn't really film most of it because we were back in their labs. We were, in their battery engineering facilities. We were in their powertrain dyno rooms. And it was a really cool experience. And basically a very eye-opening. My friend Ahmad, who's head of powertrain there, really, sort of liaison to the whole day. And we shot a video together talking about mostly the differences of Grand Touring Performance and the Sapphire. And so that was really interesting to see. The actual differences between Grand Touring and Grand Touring Performance go beyond just the specs. They actually use different cells in the cars and have longer thermal performance, different inverter on the front drive unit, little things like this to make it work. So I was like, why would anyone spend 170 grand or whatever it is for a Grand Touring Performance over a Grand Touring? But I'm kind of sort of understanding that a little bit more. The Sapphire looks amazing. I did not have a chance to drive it. They wanted me to, I wanted to, but there were CEOs of everyone all around. And, because it was after Car Week, all these VIPs were visiting. And so, the car just wasn't available for a drive, but I'm sure I'll be able to drive it at some point when the appropriate time comes up. But I did spend time with their chassis engineers talking about all the little changes they made to Sapphire, all the little thermal tuning, all these things. So basically, when it does come time for me to review Sapphire, I have so much more information than I would have had otherwise that I'll be able to share in that video. And yeah, it was a really, really great experience.
Right. So this is a video I'm really looking forward to because they let you see everything, and I'm not sure if they didn't let you film everything.
No, the video's not going to be
right
like anything that interesting to you. It was mostly just us talking large high concepts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything there that you saw that you can talk about that you think the audience might be interested in, the nerdiest ones?
The interesting thing is Lucid didn't tell me not to say anything. They were like, they didn't tell me to say everything. They just, there were no seemingly restrictions on anything. So I don't know like what I can or can't say, but I can say it looks like the gravity program's well underway. Right. And so that was impressive to see tons of these things, going through testing and whatever. So that was cool.
Right. So they have pre-production
all prototypes, and they've shown them online, like the ones that go around the race or that went around. I don't know if they shot it at Laguna or Sonoma, but they showed one going around a track, and that they all look like that. There's just like a bunch of them, a whole like building full of them. It was pretty amazing, and I obviously couldn't take photos or show any of that, but that's all been publicly announced. And they're out driving around doing testing all in the area, so that was really cool. And we talked a lot about charging performance, a lot about DC charging, a lot about AC charging, their strategy on cell characterization, which happens with, I was talking to my dad, which is like our car has a huge amount of DC fast charging on it, like, an abnormal amount, because I've driven it across the country and we've done, obviously cannonballing, brought it back, 10% challenges, all these things. And in order, what Lucid does based off of their understanding of the Samsung cells, which are the same cells that Rivian uses, by the way. In Grand Touring Performance and Dream, it's the same cell as Rivian. The one in my dad's car, the Grand Touring, is a different chemistry than Grand Touring Performance. And they have to be a little bit gentler with the non-performance in terms of charging curve and overall performance. It seems like the cells, I actually didn't really ask them too much about it, but it just seems like they can't push them nearly as hard as the Grand Touring Performance. So we're like, maybe we should have used a Grand Touring Performance for the Cannonball. And they were like, yes, that would have been even better, because at high speed, the efficiency difference, they're like, it's almost nothing, in the EPA cycle, certainly a little bit, but when you're ripping along, there's very negligible efficiency differences, and that car charges better. And I wish we had known that early on, because it's just something that no one knew at the time when we got our car. But interestingly, they derate after a high number of DC fast charging sessions. However, you can get your derate back up to peak by AC charging a few times. So let's say you drive 500 or 700 miles equivalent and you just AC charge the car, it starts to open back up your DC performance. And that's another reason why I want to redo the 10% challenge, because our car is heavy DC charging. It wasn't AC charged a bunch. And so it's not the maximum the car can do, even though it did win. Like, it's still the best we've tested. Sure. So there's a lot of little things that I learned, stuff like that, but like times a million. It was amazing. And literally they stopped the engineers for, an hour each or something like this. And there must have been 30 people I met. I don't know, but there were so many, and they were all familiar with my dad's content, familiar with our content, know how the car is being optimized based off of our feedback. We were able to see that, which was amazing. Saw Peter Rawlinson for a little while as well. And so, it was really a great background information experience to help me review Lucids and optimize the cars even better, and to help our viewers optimize their Lucids even better into the future.
Right. So Dave,
just a couple of things, Dominic, on the Lucid real fast. So Kyle, I will be AC charging this car as per your request for the next, let's say, 500, 700 miles. Tomorrow, I'm actually taking my Lucid in for service, and I'm really happy that Lucid has opened up a brand new service center here on Long Island, Plainview, New York. And up until now, there's only been 3 service centers on the entire East Coast, one in Natick, one just in Virginia, and then one down in Riviera Beach, Florida. And so to now have, this additional service center within an hour of my house, I'm really pumped about that. So what's also interesting is I'm going to get a loaner car from them, which I believe I'm going to be getting another Grand Touring. And so I love that, you get to know your car really well, and certain things like low speed and some of the things that it does and I'm excited to get another Grand Touring just to see if there are any differences that I can pick up on. So I'll be reporting on that. I'll probably have the loaner Grand Touring for at least a week, just because some of the items that are on my list are going to take them a little bit of time. But I will say they've been extremely responsive. The car drives amazingly well. Domenick, since I've seen you, I was out visiting Kyle, and I flew out and picked up the car, and we drove it up in the canyons, Poudre Canyon. And man, I'll tell you what, it's just, I don't drive crazy fast, but the confidence, the way this car handles, it really is kind of a triple threat. The ability to be able to handle really well for what is arguably a big car in a canyon like that, and then cruise on the highways, and then just daily drive it. It's really growing on me. I took my daughter Katie up from Connecticut to Maine. I'm going to have that video coming out soon, and I just incredibly loved driving the car. My biggest problem with the car has been DC fast charging it. Finding the right chargers that play nice with this high voltage architecture, which has been very frustrating. But also just that even when you do find a good one, the curve, as Kyle alluded to, maybe it's because I've just DC fast charged this car so much. The curve is not terrific. And so, but
it's
overall,
not
the car is
terrific.
amazing.
It's not terrific either way. So charging, I think we can all agree, is the biggest pain point of the Lucid. And I was hanging out with Eric Bach there, who's head of tech, and he's like, well, just, AC charging and workplace charging is the answer. I'm like, yes, but we can't even get to the topic of talking about AC charging and workplace charging if you can't take your car where you need to take your car.
Right.
You buy a car to get places. Once that's sorted, everyone is so tired of talking about DC charging. It shouldn't be a problem. Lucid is just as frustrated as we are at everything. They're having to work software packages around EAs and other charging, network providers issues so that the cars stop breaking themselves. For example, ABBs are now sending too much current to the cars, and they're like, we have to open up max allowable overcurrents so that, to basically stop our customers from getting their cars go into a fault state. But it's like, that's not us. Like, we have to work around their problems. And It's been crazy to hear their comments about how everything has gone. And, certainly they talking about Tesla supporting high voltage hasn't been confirmed yet, but all of the ideas of, they just want to provide a great high quality charging experience to their customers. The problem is they can't right now, because they can't really go to Tesla because they've not said they can do 1,000 volts on V3. I was thinking like just reconfigure the output, side of V3, because they already do 800 volt, 1,000 volt between cabinets. It doesn't sound like it's that easy. Again, I'm just kind of reading between the lines on what everyone is saying. And then the booster is only 50 kilowatts on the car. So like when my dad brings his Lucid to a Magic Dock, he's stuck at 45 to 50 kilowatts, which is not acceptable. And they're like, we could just tell our customers to do that, but no one's going to want to sit at 50 kilowatts. So they're working on a whole bunch of different ideas on how to provide better charging, that I think we'll see the fruits of probably, I don't know a timeline, but it's not like they're ignoring it. They know what's going on. And I think they need to message that a little bit better. I was explaining to them too. I'm like, look, your Lucid owner base are our viewers, a lot of them. And like, we just want the car to charge. So like, just give your owners a little bit of confidence to know, now that I know what you're working on, just let everyone else know, like, okay, we get it, and we're trying to fix stuff. So yeah, I think that'll be a large portion of my video as well, talking about that type of situation.
Yeah, some more and better communication.
I was just going to add that the one benefit you do have of this car is, so for example, I live here in Fairfield County, Connecticut. I want to go to Boston for the day and come back. I don't even have to charge, right? So in that kind of a use case, it's fine. But when we road trip this thing, right? I bought this car to road trip. It's the longest range, it's the fastest charging, and not for fault of Lucid. It's everything we just said that's been very frustrating to me. But the thing is, the car is so amazing. The way it drives is incredible. And so it's this sort of yin yang thing I keep having in my brain about what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Right now, I'm keeping the car. It's an amazing car, And I'm hopeful that EA will be able to work things out so we can avoid these signet surges. I just got to give it some time for now, is what I'm thinking.
Well, that might be coming sooner than you think. I mean, we'll have to wait and see, but it sounds like within the next week or so, signet surge may be a thing of the past. But these are just rumors. I don't know.
Okay.
And again, who you're going to trust EA's timeline here? I don't know. Maybe you should. But either way, the proof is in the pudding. When it's fixed, we'll do a video, saying it's fixed.
I'm ready to test it. You tell me, let me know which station. I'm ready to go there right now.
And that'll be a great video. It's going to be like, holy crap, you can actually drive comfortably 800 volt EVs. I was talking to Lucid, the battery guys, a little bit, like, does signet surge actually hurt the battery? Because it's really jamming in there. And we even had some issues with our car where it was pulsing the motors. When it would surge, it would move the car a little bit. And they said that was only really possible. And it was slightly very concerning to them, but that was possible because the motors act as preconditioning devices like Model 3. So they were engaged, the inverters were engaged, running inefficiently, and they were getting these spike loads. They said if it wasn't preconditioning, the power would not have made it to the motors, of course. But they're like, even so, like, it's crazy that this is going on. They're, if not more frustrated than us about this whole thing. And what's interesting is, they said that the signet surge, it's not good for the car, but they're not seeing any noticeable increase of degradation or cell performance over time. So that at least is quite positive. But they had a whole test lab dedicated to it, for essentially like a whole thing testing cells at different temperatures with different surging, and they really took it seriously.
That's cool. That's good to know. Yeah. Hey, so really briefly, I wanted to talk about this video that I made this past week. This is I tried to do a 10% challenge, and I kind of failed a little bit. So Ed here, who we see on,
for you though, did you watch a 10% challenge before?
I have watched them in the past, but I didn't watch them just before I did it, which is
that's the key.
What I should have done. Right. So I had a lot of the elements there, but I was missing a lot of, the finer details. But because I wasn't really planning on doing this, but this guy, Ed, who lives close to me, just reached out of the blue over emailed me and, suggested we try this because he watches out of spec. And actually, we had a great, interesting conversation. He's got this really beautiful Tesla Model X. It's got, I think, 5,000 miles on it now. He just got it this past April. Just his reasons for getting that, he goes over that a bit in this video. It was very interesting. He bought it because of hurricanes. A lot of people use hurricanes as an excuse not to go electric in Florida, but he's like total opposite. He has some great ideas there, I thought. But anyway, so yeah, we did this quick. We tried to do the 10% challenge. We kind of failed. I think we're going to reshoot it. I think we're going to try to redo it. I need to get back in touch with him and see about that. Because really, you only do it with one person in the car generally as well. I think that's one of the bigger things that we fell down on.
I think that, just going over climate settings, and then, you came off of 80 miles an hour a few times.
Right. That's the thing too. We did it in it was the Saturday, but there was a fair amount of traffic. We went back towards the city. I think we should have went away from the city, just to be, less traffic. So yeah, we didn't get the speed up. But in the 15, so the 10% challenge is you drive up to the fast charger, having been preconditioning, you get it to 10%. So you start charging from a 10% state of charge. This is like the mimic like a road tripping. So you're road tripping. If you're not if you're a little bit conservative, you might stop at 10% rather than the 2% that Kyle does. So you see your battery set at 10%, you pull in, you plug in, and you charge for 15 minutes, and then boom, you're off again. And to see how far can you go on that 15 minutes of charging until you reach 10% battery again, where, if you're road tripping, that might be again where you stop and try to charge up.
Yeah, so we call it the road trip range of a vehicle. And it is, to me, the most important metric. But I was also thinking, like, it was a really hot day where you were, and the cable wasn't wrapped with a wet rag. Because, again, we're not reviewing the charger in the car. We're just trying to see what the car can do in its maximum.
Right. So, yeah, but we put in 44 kilowatt hours in 15 minutes, which I thought was pretty good.
I mean, Lucid did well over 50. Taycan does like 55 in 15 minutes. Electra should do close to 60 kilowatt hours in 15 minutes, something like that. I also think you were coming off of peak because that car should be doing close to 150 kilowatts at 50%.
Okay, it was doing. We did go up 252, I believe, early in the charge.
Yeah, that's fine. But I'm just saying, I think you came off of your peak charging curve because the handle got hot. V3s on a hot day, they still thermal derate, not as much as version 2 cables, but it's something that you got to do at night. Ice bath the cable. It's an intricate test. People don't realize. I mean, now you realize like how many little things you got to think about.
Yeah, I have a whole list now, a whole checklist. I think we lost your dad. I'm not sure if he's coming back.
Yeah, he'll come back if he can.
Okay, we'll just leave him there. Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. I got to meet a new person with a nice Tesla Model X, and I'm hoping we can collaborate on some other things coming up. But yeah, wrapping the wet rag around the handle, that's still a thing though, right?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, it's something that on a version 3 it's probably not so needed. But on version 2 on a warm day, absolutely. And version 3, yeah, you can overheat the handle on a V3, but it's not nearly as susceptible because they do run coolant through, and the coolant touches actually the silver-plated copper connections inside the handle. But yeah, I mean, it's something I don't recommend to do all the time. It's not really good or bad for anything, but it just hopefully helps cool things down enough to keep a better session into the car. Right. So yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of people approach us and say, hey, can we do 10% challenges and all those things? And it's like, it's really tough to get other people involved. Also, our tests are done at high elevation where we do most of ours. And so we have slightly less air density. And so we're trying to keep all of our testing done in Colorado on our roads so that we can really compare car to car best as possible. We're trying to do them mostly at night now, so we have less thermal loads in the vehicle just to kind of even things out. But this is the best test that we do. It's a great test that anyone can do, of course. You did one for your channel. It's great. And it really does show the road tripping range of an EV. And the Model X did great.
Yeah, we got 119 miles, just about 120. It flicked over just as we were talking, showing it on the screen. Mach-E Vlog asks, shouldn't the test be how most people would just charge, and most people aren't going to wait for the night or wrapping the handle?
Yeah, but no, because we're trying to benchmark the cars. If we were going to do really customer representative testing, then it's just a crapshoot. Then it's like, yeah, well, some people, charge for 27 minutes. Like, no, if we really want to compare this car versus this car in the almost exact same scenario, we are not reviewing the charging equipment, because we're using Delta chargers, we're using Signet chargers, we're using Tesla superchargers, just depending on the car and the exact location. So we want to remove all the variables other than just what the car can charge at its maximum. Again, it's a little bit like a Nürburgring lap time where like a Rimac Nevera might be able to run a 7-minute 9-second lap or a 7-minute 6-second lap around the ring. I probably couldn't do that in that car, but it is nice to know what it could do versus a Model S Plaid at its maximum, as an example. So nope, the whole idea here isn't to represent what someone is actually going to experience, because everyone uses their car differently on different roads and in different charging profiles. This is a way where we can go this car versus this car and try and make it, again, it's still real world. We still have variables, but removing as many of those as possible.
Right. Larry Kuhn says, we need a novice 10% challenge. Well, that's what my video is. So
yeah, but then it's hard to compare. Then it's just like, here's what this car did on this day and these conditions.
Yeah, it would be just a rough guide, rough.
And even then we could see 20 or 25% swings. Like with our test, what we really need to do is run our 10% challenge, same car back to back to back to back, and see how much deviation we get.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do it in my Model 3, long rear-wheel drive, long range, 2018, and yeah, almost 50,000 miles on that.
You have OE tires on that car? I
need to check. I can't say off the top of my head.
Okay. Yeah.
I need to check that. Possibly not. That's another thing. The Tesla Model X that we did a test and did have 20-inch, wheels from the factory, Continentals, I believe. But but we should move on and get into some news. But before we do, I wanted to mention that this past week, a member of the automotive journalist community passed away, and it's pretty sad. And I just want to shout out to him and his family. Um, he was a very important figure for me and for Kyle as well. Steven Loveday, he was only 45 years old, inside EVs. He was diagnosed in October of last year with tongue cancer, and he underwent treatment and was declared cancer-free in March. But symptoms came back, and he had to go some very extensive surgery. And he leaves behind a wife of 23 years, Janine, and 3 kids. So it's a tough time, and I just wanted to throw that out there, that we're thinking about the family and what they're going through. And I don't know if Kyle, if you wanted to say anything.
The only thing we can really say at this point is obviously extremely tragic, and there is a GoFundMe to help the family, which we've contributed to. We've shared around through our social media, but we'll also leave it linked in the description to this video. If you have the means, even $10 will help. Their families, of course, going through a lot, so whatever we can do to help them out is what we need to do.
Yeah. Stephen was just a wonderful guy, and he was really. Yeah, he talked about had a lot of confidence in you, Kyle, and he knew, like, from the early beginnings that you're capable of doing great things, and you've grown this like huge family of channels and have done pretty well, and I believe like he played some role in that.
Yep, he was there since the beginning. I mean, years and years I've been reading Steven's work and then getting to know him, and it's just tragic, but insane, huge influence. As I said it when I shared the story, is Out of Spec would not have existed without Steven's influence. So, yep, it's extremely sad that this happened.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to some news. So this is kind of a big deal. So you got to see, this is a pretty interesting situation here. So the Rimac Nevera set a new record at Nürburgring on, was that Friday or Saturday? They made the presentation, the 18th.
Yeah, it was Friday morning.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it did it. Yeah.
So they set the record. On the Nürburgring, they did it. So it's what was it? It's the shorter track configuration of 20.6 kilometers or 12.8 miles, and they set a record of 7 minutes and 7 minutes 0.928 seconds. Basically,
it's 7 minutes 9 seconds.
Okay. I'm not sure why I'm looking at
unless I got my decimal point mixed up. But either way, they didn't crest. They didn't break into the sixes like they wanted to.
Right, which I kind of thought they would too. I was like, and I heard they had the video online. I even had a chance to go through the whole in that video yet. But
and I would say there's actually an even more interesting video than that, which is Misha's video on the behind the scenes and the prep work, and that the car got pulled over for driving on the street, so they had to get a transport truck last minute to move it from the charger back to the track, and so they did a quali lap, and they basically went out, tested the car, did everything, brought it in a truck to a DC charger, zapped it up to 100%, brought it back to the track. Again, Nürburgring doesn't have DC fast chargers on site, which is crazy. That the world's most famous and amazing racetrack doesn't have DC charging other than the Tesla supercharger that's there. So that's always a benefit. And it was an insane lap, but the weather conditions really were not in their favor. It was greasy, humidity was through the roof.
Right.
And so there was actually some sections of the track, watching Misha's video, where it was just peeling tire off of the tire and leaving it on the pavement, literally just melting the tire off. So of course they have to use OE tires. This is a production car electric record.
Right. It's got Michelin Cup 2R tires on it.
Yeah, it's real spicy. And I mean, it's just crazy how fast this thing is.
Right. So I'm just going to leave that lap up there for now. But so they set this record, and then like an hour later, they had a little presentation, a speech, because they announced a new, what do you call a new like a trim level, or new, how would you say that?
Yeah, it's just a special edition.
Yes, they celebrated the thing with the global premiere of the Nevera Time Attack. So one of 12, which they had on there. If you want one, you're out of luck because they're already sold out. So I'm not even sure how this works. So they were going to make 150 Neveras originally. So is this like a dozen more, or is this a dozen of those have been made or going to be made into time attack vehicles?
Yeah, my understanding is a dozen of the Nevera lineup will be made into time attacks.
Okay. That's pretty interesting. I don't know if we have a whole lot of information on that car. It was mostly the like appearance package though, right?
Yeah, technically, I don't believe there's any changes. It's just a celebration of all the records that they beat. Doing that 0 to 60, 0 to 120, all of those
Right.
things. The Nürburgring, is just another record that they can now add to this car. And I got to see Mate there, and he's just like, we're just going to keep going and going and going, and more records and more things. And so the car is just insane. It's an animal, and it's purpose built to just be maximum insanity. So yeah, really, really cool. Got to sit in the time attack version and experience the in-car stuff. Still have never driven one, but that was a conversation that came up. It sounds like it's a possibility sometime in the not too distant future. So I'm looking forward to that. But no guarantees, of course, until we actually get in and drive it. Yeah, the lap record was really interesting because when Mate was giving the speech, he was like, obviously we're many hours behind German time. And so they had done this in the morning in Germany, and then in the morning in US time, Mate was giving the presentation unveiling the Nürburgring lap record. And he's like, we only had one speech, which was we won. We got the record. There was no fallback option. Like they had to get it, and they did, and it worked out great.
He's ballsy like that. He's like he's one of my favorite automotive CEOs.
Totally. He's great.
Yeah. All right. Let's stop that screen. And I also want to talk about this other car, which is kind of related to the Rimac car. Let's check on top. We're pretty much on time. Okay, we might gotta make this quick. But so Automobili Pininfarina, they debuted at Pebble Beach. That's sharing it already. Look at that. The world's first electric hyper Barchetta. I guess that's how you pronounce it. This thing is just like amazing. I'm not sure what I've shared here, but yeah. And so a Barchetta is a open top car, but with no provision for a convertible top, right? So it's all lightweight. So I had some questions about this for you, actually. Oh, sorry. Right. We have a guest here, but I'm not sure who that is. Some weird things going on backstage, but yeah. So this Barchetta is like they're only going to make 10 bespoke examples of this thing. 0-60 is less than 2 seconds. It's got the Rimac Nevera drivetrain in it, but I think you said something about maybe it's sharing the chassis, Kyle.
Oh, I don't know for sure. I was basically saying there's a lot of Rimac tech that goes in this vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this one, to be honest. It's like not a car there's only 10 of them.
Right.
It's we really need to review. I got to see it in person and like check it out and talk to some of the designers and stuff. But Pininfarina is a design house, not they didn't really want to talk too much technical nonsense.
Right. I get that. Right, and this we don't need to spend any time on this, but it's just like a crazy
I just
car.
couldn't see myself buying one of these that's electric, personally.
Oh, really?
Okay. I would want a fire spitting, V12 supercar engine in something that's this insane. Now, this is for everyone who already has those, and this is just another thing to add to the collection. This is not going to be.
This is like a billionaire's car, basically, because I don't know how much they're charging for this. I think
it's 4 million plus or minus. Yeah,
cool.
I don't think it's anything crazier than 4 or 5 million, which is a lot of money for a car, but it's not. Sure. I don't think it's much more than that.
So the thing is, it looks like it has a lot of Rimac's DNA in it, but so the Rimac's monocoque, it has a roof, and that roof structure is important. So this doesn't have a roof, so it's like it's got to be modified in some way. So that's going to add a lot of money if it's actually based on the original monocoque design. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a car that we probably, our audience, it's not really consumer advice if we research it and talk to everyone and get the info, but it is cool. Unfortunately, we don't cover the supercar world that closely.
Right. Or
At
we
least
don't
not yet.
Yeah, we don't get to buy them or own them or anything. But speaking of supercar, also the long-awaited Lamborghini, how do you pronounce that? Lanzador?
Lanzador.
Lanzador
Yeah.
made its debut as well at the place at the Monterey Car Week. Sorry.
Yep. It made its debut at the Quail, which was like a specific event as part of Car Week. And it's not till 2028. And all the Lamborghini people were pissed off about it. But then, there was a large number of people that were really into this thing as well. In terms of the specs, it seems cool for today. But who knows what the tech's going to be in 2028? We might be seeing 2,000, 3,000 horsepower, cars rolling around by then pretty regularly in the supercar space. So, I think it's a bit early days. It must have some sort of like washing machine engine in it because it does drive at like a half a mile an hour, but
Okay.
it needed a push to get it into the trailer that they were towing it around in. So, it's very, very concept car early days.
Yeah, it's very early days. And the only thing we can really comment on it is like the form. Like this is like a 2-door lifted. It kind of has some, the DNA of the Huracan or whatever, and it has like a lot of Lamborghini, style DNA, but it's like unlike anything else. I don't know. It puts me in mind of that actually. That there was a company before called Local Motors who were trying to do a sort of a similar kind of looking vehicle, kind of off-roadish looking thing that you could kind of build yourself. Anyway, that's what this kind of puts me in mind of, only with like a big Lamborghini spin on that concept.
Yeah, it's like Urus and Huracan mixed together type situation.
Right.
Yeah, pretty cool. No one seemed to be against the styling. Lamborghinis always need to be a little bit outlandish and different, and this certainly is.
Right.
So, but again, it's years and years away.
Right.
So it's like, yeah.
So we don't need to talk about that too much more. Let's just take that off the screen even, because we're down to an hour and a half. We should probably get going. Why don't we just call that an episode?
Dad, you got anything else you want to share? I mean, we didn't really talk about your Model Y road trip. We didn't really talk about anything you got going on.
Yeah, no, listen, I appreciate you guys asking me to come on here. I can tell you where my head is I'm interested in the Model 3 Highland. We keep seeing little sneak previews and there's a lot of buzz, and we didn't talk about the Cybertruck.
What have you seen recently? What have you seen recently about Highland?
Oh, you know what, Kyle? I don't know what to believe and what not to believe. There's a bunch of YouTubers out there that are saying, "Oh, Model Highland's maybe going to have heads-up display." There's been some more spy shots. The tooling of the factory in Fremont. Was it shut down to add new robots? What are they going to do with the old robots? And I think there's just a lot of chatter going on with this car. The thing that people are saying they have seen confirmed is the fact that it's going to be a stockless wheel, and how are people going to adapt to that? But I'm interested to find more about this car. But I just think we're going to have to wait and see. A lot of people are calling me up saying, "Dave, what should I do with my current Model 3? Should I order the new one?" I said, "You can't order the new one yet. So if you want to get rid of the old one, or the existing Model 3, probably do that now, because as soon as the Highland comes out, the values are going to tank, or maybe not. You never know." So anyway, I'm sort of watching that space. And then the only other thing that was on my mind is that there's seemingly truckloads of these Cybertrucks showing up everywhere over the last week. And I don't know, for me, they're cool, but I'm not sure I could see driving one of those around. I don't know, Kyle. I know you're like, oh, I gotta get one of these things, right? But look, a lot of interesting things going on with Tesla that I'm keeping my eye on.
Hey Dave, do you have a lot of credits in your loot box, in your Tesla loot box?
I do.
Because you can turn those into credits into an invitation to the Cybertruck delivery event in Austin, Texas.
I have no desire to go. No desire.
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought it'd make a good video. I'd go with you.
Yeah, I'd love to see how to spec Dave at the.
I don't have any. I don't have credits. I'll go. I'll be your +1.
right?
Yeah, I should change my referral code to you, Kyle, because I want to thank everyone who did use my code. I've maxed out now. You as consumers still get the value, but I don't anymore. So maybe I'll change it to yours, Kyle. It depends
No,
on
it's
how
okay.
nice you are to me. You know what I mean,
Yeah.
Kyle? You know, you gotta be nice to your dad. So,
It's
So-
okay.
but
Yeah. But I
So-
would like to,
Yeah,
if we're going to
no,
do
I
this
mean-
thing, like, let's go to the Cybertruck delivery event. Use your.
But we
point
don't know
code.
when it is.
all
That's
right,
the other problem.
all right.
So
It doesn't
they,
matter. We'll go.
have-
I will show up.
they have this whole program. You can change, cash in 10,000 your bonus points
No, it's
for an
30.
invitation. But sorry,
30,000.
30,000. But we don't know when it is. But
30,000?
you have to be able to
Yeah.
take your day off or two off of work and go to Austin, Texas at a drop of a hat, basically.
Yeah. So it's for YouTubers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah.
that's
Yeah,
what we do.
Kyle, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later. I've got enough credits. I can do it if you really want me to. So
Yeah, my only concern is I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm actually in the middle of Utah right now. In Wendover, I'm right by the Bonneville Salt Flats. I have to drive back to Fort Collins now, and then I'm
Right.
flying to Europe tomorrow. And I'm going to be there for, I don't know, I haven't booked my return flight. I'm going to be there for some amount of time. And so my only concern is if it falls within, my time over there.
I thought you were going to be at the Overlander thing this weekend.
No, but my truck's
Overland
there.
Expo. Oh, okay. So your Rivian's going to be at the Overland Expo Mountain West in.
It's
Leavenworth,
already there.
Colorado.
It's on display right now. Gates open so that everyone can check it out. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to share this because I thought and maybe you have somebody there with it, I guess, son.
Yeah, the team's going. I think there's 4 or 5 of them going, something like
Because
that.
I want to learn more about this thing.
Is that going to be at the Overland Expo?
It will be at the Overland
Okay,
Expo.
great.
Yeah. This thing, if you're not watching this on YouTube, we're looking at the GMC Hummer EV Earth Cruiser. It's debuting at the Overland thing, and it's pretty crazy. A whole lot. Well, we'll leave it for next week, but a whole lot going on with that thing. So I guess that brings us to the end of our show. We hope to be back next week with our full crew. There's some weirdness happening, so we're still trying to work that out. But so next week will be our official launch episode 1 for reals, and kick off the podcast officially, and then we'll also have coming up some interviews during the week as well, some extra episodes,
And we'll talk about cheaper cars, not
And we'll
just
talk
Rolls-Royce Spectres and $4 million Pininfarinas.
Yes,
But this is Car Week, so that's what happens.
right. I mean, and I think of a lot of our audience are car people. Like I can enjoy looking. I know I'll never be able to afford those things, but I love looking at them and
Same. Yeah.
learning about them. And you're lucky you get to drive them from time to time. So
Yes.
Hey, wait, Kyle, well, you didn't talk about the Rolls Royce.
Well, we could do a whole video on that.
Yeah, I mean the Rolls-Royce Spectre. I mean it's been reviewed already. It's been out there in the hands. People's had their hands on it. I don't think you've driven it yet. You got to see it. It's in your video of walking around.
Yeah, it's been on our channel, but we've never driven it.
Yeah, it's an amazing. I kind of like it, except for the back end.
Yeah, back's pretty bad. I wish it was a 4-door.
That was the first time I'd really seen it in your video. It was like looking at the back. I was like, not quite. The rest of it's so good though. It makes up for all that. Only the people you pass see that anyway. So
That's right.
all right. So that brings us to the end of this show. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them on our YouTube below, or get in touch with us on Twitter or Threads, where we are Batteries Inc. Pod on Twitter, or Batteries Included Podcast on Threads. If you like the show, please give us a thumbs up. Dave, where can people find you on the socials?
Yeah, so Twitter, it's at Out of Spec Dave, and my YouTube channel is Out of Spec Dave. So appreciate everyone's support. I'm having a lot of fun doing this. This week's a big week for me, getting the first press vehicle and doing the launch of the F-150 Lightning Black Edition. So Kyle, thank you for those opportunities, and it's always good to join you, Domenick. I miss you from when we rode those jet skis on that alligator-infested lake down in Florida. So. Luckily, we survived that, and we're able to do today's podcast. So, but I'll see you guys soon. And Kyle, I'll keep up with where you're at via Twitter. That's the way I know where my son is. So,
Right, Dave, your out of spec Dave channel is just bumping. I think you had videos up just about every day of the week this past week, which is quite a feat. Because I'm looking at my own schedule, and like after we finish the podcast today, that's me writing some outlines for some, that's whatever I need to I need to catch up with you. I need to, you're blazing the trail, setting an
I'm
example.
staying busy. I'm staying busy. I have so much editing to do, Dominic. I have a headache. I need Excedrin just to think about it, but it's all good.
All right. So yeah, if click subscribe, tap that bell icon for notifications, and we'll see you all again next week. Ciao.